All right, good morning. My name is Jeff Orrock here at the National Weather Service in Wakefield. Quite a bit to talk about on this Thursday morning. And before I even get started, I'll make sure folks are aware that, with all the weather expected this weekend and into early next week, we will be emailing our updated briefing out again tomorrow morning by 10. And we do plan to be back on this channel tomorrow at 11 o'clock to kind of talk through the weather through Saturday and then kind of really focusing in on what may be happening early next week. Still a lot of unknowns. It's a very, very messy weather pattern, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Kind of just jumping right into it. I'm not going to read, the highlights to you guys, but what I'm going to do is just jump right into what's currently going on. And this is just looking at the Wakefield radar itself. And so, we've had this nice band of rain, even some thunder in this that's moved across Richmond. It kind of dropped south here from Emporia, now going across a lot of Hampton roads, getting some good downpours out of this. And like I said, even had a few rumbles of thunder in that earlier. And another band moving, mainly north of Richmond, kind of skirting through Richmond, but there's some heavier rain just north of Richmond, Louisa over towards, Bowling Green, Ashland, and about to go through Tappahannock. And all this is generally moving to the east. And so we expect a little bit more rain this morning. And if you kind of zoom out and I look at kind of the bigger picture here across the region, again, you see the precipitation here across the south side and this band that really goes across north central Virginia, all the way back into the mountains and even some higher reflectivity here in far southwest Virginia. And overlaid on top of here are the temperatures. So you can really see everybody really is above freezing. We did have some light freezing rain, could even see some glazing on the trees back up towards Louisa and Goochland. Even Louisa reported a brief burst of snow there with thunder snow. As the precipitation rate increased, it was actually able to force things all the way to snow really briefly. So that did kind of play out as expected, just not much ice at all. And you see temperatures here really are way above freezing. The thing that's kind of nice about this is if you go back and look at some other precipitation values, and I'll see if I can let's see if I can call up some of the precipitation. Well, we'll just call up the precipitation analysis here. You can see we've actually seen quite a bit of really, really good rain across the area. So if I get my legend back up here, you kind of see everything in the green is really at least an inch of rain, especially the darker greens. This dark greens 1.5 to 2. Even some of the lighter greens is at least a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. So some really good precipitation across the region. We're still getting rainfall here on the south side, obviously, and seeing some good rain back here in the mountains. So some good recharge coming down the river. So a good rain event with a little bit of freezing rain mixed in there, kind of as expected earlier this morning. Now you did see some of that precipitation still coming across the mountains, and so this is what's known as the HRRR model, and kind of move it into where we are right now. Kind of doing a pretty good job, showing those two bands of precipitation here, where you got the stuff moving across the south side, and Richmond's kind of in the gap, and you got the stuff moving across the north. And as you spread this over in time and move forward, you do notice that stuff moving across north central Virginia. It hangs on for a little while, but it does start to dissipate. This is by about 1 or 2 1 o'clock. You see that precipitation starting to kind of break up and dissipate. There'll still be a few scattered showers across the area, but things could just got a notification. We're only seeing the first slide, so I see that now. Let me see. I'm gonna have to stop sharing and resharing. Let me stop it and restart it. There we go. It just updated. I apologize. It looks like the computer hung up. Thank you all for letting me know. And so what I'll do is I will actually try to we'll just start from here, showing that we have this precipitation that's been moving across the area. And it's doing a pretty good job showing the precipitation moving through Hampton roads, and then Richmond kind of in this gap, and the precipitation just north of Richmond. And that's what the radar looks like currently. If I go back and pull up the current radar, you can kind of see those two bands of precipitation here across. This is the current live radar. Precipitation across the south side, Richmond a little bit here in a gap, and some more precipitation moving across north central Virginia and moving off towards the east. So looking at a model representation of that, it's doing a pretty good job showing that's what's currently going on. And as you move forward in time, you notice that band of precipitation starting to break up as it tries to move into Richmond. So we'll see if that happens. I still would expect a few little scattered showers here, for the rest of this morning and into early afternoon. over portions of central Virginia. But it just looks like it may try to fall apart as it kind of moves east and drops south. And maybe a lingering shower here later this afternoon that kind of pushes across with the front, but it really just kind of washes out. So maybe just a few more scattered showers, but with a little bit more accumulation. But some of that real heavy rain that we saw earlier could be starting to kind of get on the decrease here. So that's kind of what we expect for today. And then after that, we're going to be drying up quite a bit later this afternoon. May even see the sunshine starting to sneak out here in some areas, a little bit of a mix of sun and clouds later on this afternoon, and then dry tonight, and then also, dry as we get into Friday as well. So kind of stepping through the weather maps here and what may be happening with the kind of the bigger picture with our fronts. We'll start off at basically where we are today. Kind of a little bit of a messy pattern with the warm front to our south that is going to lift back to the north later on today. That's going to got some precipitation maybe along that warm front, and we may see some of the sun starting to break out a little bit later. Getting into later this evening, again, things start to break up. Get into Friday morning, and you do kind of see a series of cold fronts trying to come through. A weak front pushes through in the morning. Got a stronger front, that's going to be coming down here more like into a later Friday into Saturday with this cold punch. See those lines going straight all the way back up to Canada. And so that's going to be the cold punch that's going to come in a little bit later. Get into Friday evening. You see that cold front's actually pushed, to the south. Cooler high pressure building in from the north is behind that front. And by the time you get into a Saturday morning, you do see here this little wave of low pressure here Friday evening over parts of northeast Georgia, western South Carolina. That's going to kind of ride up here and interact a little bit with this cooler air by Saturday morning. It might result in a little bit of a mess. You do expect Saturday to be kind of wet as this low pressure system pushes moisture to the north. And there's going to be some cool air in place behind that cold front. So those two are going to kind of battle it out over parts of north central and northern Virginia. So we are forecasting kind of a rain, then with a wintry mix across portions of central Virginia, northern Virginia. Could be a little bit of snow, could be a little bit of freezing rain, and then eventually changing over to rain. So there'll be a little bit of a battle here Saturday morning with the moisture coming in from the south and the cold air that's going to be in place in the morning. Jumping ahead to Sunday, all this moves offshore, and things do dry out quite a bit. But again, you just kind of see these cold fronts continuing to line up. And so a cold front's going to come through by Saturday morning, and then again a little bit later on. And so that's going to kind of increase our winds on Saturday, usher in some colder air. And that's ahead of our next system that starts to develop here to the south. This cold high pressure is going to be settling in from the north. And now you have a couple low pressure systems to the south that are going to start moving up. And that becomes the $1 million question, what's going to happen from Monday and especially getting into Tuesday. There's a lot of moisture coming in. There could be a lot more snow over Virginia than what this is showing. This is showing mostly rain. I don't think I would bank on that as of right now. I'll show you some of the probabilities of snowfall. The bottom line here, what I want to show is the fact that we do have kind of a messy system with a low pressure system developing here along the coast. That's going to be putting a lot of moisture over us on Monday and into Tuesday, and then even into Wednesday. You get here into Wednesday morning, and they're still showing quite a bit of precipitation. I'm not sure it's going to be that much rain. It could be quite a bit of wintry mix. So that's what we're going to be talking about here as we walk through the briefing. So some good rain today. This actually covers, from 7 a.m. this morning to, all the way through Saturday. So maybe, most of this is going to be falling, from this morning, and then a little bit more on Saturday as that next system comes in. The bottom line is we're keeping some good precipitation around and keeping things pretty wet. So this is what we got to watch out for Saturday morning. And I think this map here is doing a pretty good job showing you the areas that we could see that wintry mix. Just north of Richmond, I'd say, Richmond's kind of on the edge from Richmond up north. So it's almost like right along 64 and north. And really that covers not only Richmond, but also really the entire state. And this is where you're going to kind of see that battleground between south of that's going to be rain. But once you get kind of along the north 64, I think we could see a brief period of some snow mixing in with the rain, maybe even a little bit of freezing rain. And then the warm air is going to push in from the south. So there's a fairly small window of time where this can happen, over parts of north central and northern Virginia, as well as the lowness portions of the eastern shore and the Maryland eastern shore here. So we'll have to watch out for this. Could make things a little bit slippery for a brief period there Saturday morning, but this won't last very long. The rain's going to last, but temperatures are going to warm. And so this wintry mix will transition over to rain. And if you break that down, kind of looking at some of our cities, here on Accomack on the Eastern Shore, when that precipitation comes in around 6 a.m., so the temperatures there are right around freezing, 32 degrees or so, and then we warm up to maybe 36 there on the Eastern Shore, and eventually by noon we get up to 40, and so we start to really change over to all rain. Same thing here. You look at Bowling Green, may get a little bit of rain initially, mixing with some snow, somewhere between that 6 to noon. You look at the temperatures at Bowling Green, it's going to be about 36 at midnight. By the time you get to 3 a.m. Saturday morning, 34, right at freezing, at 6 a.m. Saturday, and then getting up to maybe around, 39 to 40 by noontime. So again, you're kind of seeing this small window. Cambridge is the same way. Getting over here more towards Louisa, you get this kind of window here. It's all between like 6 and noon, or I'd say even 6 and 10. Louisa's 34 degrees at 3 in the morning. Again, right at freezing at 6 a.m. And then by the time you get to about 9 to 12 o'clock, you're getting into the mid to upper 30s. Now, it's going to be cold on Saturday, but this period of freezing and frozen precip, it looks to be fairly short-lived, from about roughly, I'd say, 3 a.m. to, let's say, as late as 9 a.m. It's a pretty small window in here where we might see some, and it's not a lot, just maybe enough to kind of notice that something is a little bit of snow, a little bit of freezing rain mixed with the rain, but we're not expecting much impact from this. And so now we start to look ahead, and we're going to be having to fine tune this. Sunday looks dry. It's just going to be breezy. So with that cold front coming through, kind of the cold air setting the stage for next week. So Sunday looks nice. It's just going to be, cooler and windy, but it will be sunny and dry. So we get into early next week, and we're going to have to fine tune this. How much of a risk do we have on Monday? In the Monday night, it could be a little bit more than this. But then by the time you get into, late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, the risk across the area as far as accumulation for snow and ice increase. And that does linger a little bit into Wednesday and Wednesday night. So, what does that actually look like? This is some of the probabilities. Basically, it's kind of like putting a bunch of models in a blender and trying to figure out, based on snow and ice accumulation, where are the areas that might be impacted by accumulations. And so on the left is what we consider to be minor accumulations, enough where it could impact travel, could cause a few issues here. And this is really going to be kind of on and off from Monday all the way through Wednesday. And so you kind of see, again, like it always is, Richmond is kind of here on this battleground. And the orientation of this threat is kind of more, southwest to northeast. So from the Maryland Eastern Shore, I'd say down through the northern neck, encompassing portions of central Virginia, and then kind of continuing on to the southwest here, going over parts of southwestern Virginia. So especially the areas here, I'd say in the brighter greenish blue here, that's at least about a 20% chance that we could see some significant impacts, or minor impacts at least, when it comes to winter weather. Definitely better chances as you push north and west of Richmond. Moderate here, at least there's about a 10% probability in the I-95 corridor that we could see some moderate impacts. So we have to watch out for this. The models are waffling back and forth on how much snow and ice that there's going to be. They go from showing quite a bit of snow to all of a sudden kind of backing off, and they might actually bring it back in. So we're in that stage of the forecast this far out where things are waffling a little bit and there's not a lot of confidence. But I do like this right image showing that, hey, we could see some moderate impacts, and we could see some travel impacts early next week from this winter weather. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye on. What I'm going to do now is kind of start to walk through some of the models and the way things might look. And it may get a little bit messy, but I'm going to try to explain this. As we go. And so let me turn my sampling off so it's not noisy. So this is looking at model simulated radar. And actually, I'm starting it this morning. So this was showing you some of that light freezing rain this morning that we saw with, a lot of places getting rain. And of course, we dry up, and Friday looks dry. I don't see much precipitation at all. You get here into Saturday morning. It's hard to see it, but right in there, you see some of that bluish kind of mixing in. So you got the green here with the rain mainly south of 64, but along the north of 64, you got this kind of bluish, greenish, almost reddish tint up here. And this is where you may see that wintry mix. And this is as late as 10 a.m. on Saturday. So when that precipitation comes in Saturday between 6 and 10, could be a bit of a wintry mix here, especially along and north of 64. And it's kind of picking up on that. Kind of hangs in even across Northern Virginia until about 1, showing that wintry mix, kind of seeing those colors, more of that blue and pinkish kind of showing up versus the more green as you get down towards Richmond where it shows rain. This is 4 p.m. Most of the Commonwealth now looks like they're kind of out of the threat, maybe a little bit of mix here across Washington and places north, but things are really kind of warmed up. We get into basically Saturday evening. It's all rain. Things dry up a little bit here for Sunday. Not seeing much precipitation. Here's 10 a.m. Sunday. We're nice and dry. But then as we push into Monday, we have to figure this out. This is 4 a.m. Monday. Is trying to bring things in initially as snow. So you're starting to see maybe it's cold enough to bring things in at snow Monday at 4 a.m. Maybe some pockets and a little bit of light snow continues to 7 a.m. This is 10 a.m. Here's Monday afternoon. So we have to kind of figure this out. Where is this battleground going to be where it's rain to the south and then snow to the north? And that's what we're going to be trying to fine tune. It does look like it does try to warm up a little bit Monday afternoon. See that rain line trying to push to the north. So we'll see. But it does look like Northern Virginia tries to hang on to a wintry mix. So we just have to see how this plays out. Notice how it kind of changes back over to more of a pink color here. So maybe more of a wintry mix as we push into late Monday night. And then maybe some snow starts to come back here on Tuesday. And so this is Tuesday at 10 a.m. And now the blues are showing back up. So the main thing here is this isn't just really just one wave of winter precipitation. This could actually be a couple different waves of really messy wintry weather with a combination of rain, snow, and freezing rain from Monday, all the way through Tuesday. This is Tuesday at 10 a.m. Now we go to 1 p.m. Things are warming back up again, kind of getting back into that mix across Richmond, maybe a little bit more of a wintry mix over Northern Virginia. And then, 6, 7, 10 o'clock at night, maybe we're starting to change back over to rain again, more on the south side and central Virginia with wintry mix up north. So, the verdict is still out. We're going to have to see how this plays out. I just wanted to kind of show you how it looks like the wintry weather may kind of come and go from, I'd say, Monday through Tuesday. So if you look at some of the probabilities and take these all with a grain of salt, this is just the way it looks right now. So, if I throw a bunch of models into a blender and do a statistical analysis on them and say, okay, what's the probability that I might get 3 inches of snow throughout the course of this event? Well, this is through Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. And again, like we always see, that probability of potentially 3 inches of snow runs right across Richmond, about maybe a 40% probability here in Richmond that you get 3 inches of snow. And as you push back towards the mountains, much higher at about 70% probability and about the same 60% probability across Northern Virginia. And as you go down south, I-95, that probability drops off dramatically. And so we'll just have to keep an eye on this. But I think this does a pretty good job, at least right now. Let's look at, say, okay, where might we see some snow accumulation, early next week? And from Galax, moving east, definitely through Roanoke and maybe up through Richmond and maybe portions of the Eastern Shore and especially the Maryland Eastern Shore. I mean, I think if you just draw that line along where that little red, you see that kind of that first color in red, that's probably a good guess right now. Let's see what happens. But I think this is a good first guess where we could see at least, some decent snow accumulation. So we'll see how that plays out. Models will change and things will change. So we'll see what happens. Now, I do want to throw into the mix here. This is just snowfall. Okay. So we know with this system, there could be a little bit of freezing rain. And so what's the freezing rain probability? And that's what this is showing. So the probability that you might see at least 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. And so, again, you had that snow line, remember, that ran from Galax to Richmond to the Eastern Shore. But if you look right along and just south of that snow line, you may get some freezing rain. So, maybe from Galax over to Danville and places, from Richmond south, south and southwest, we're going to have to watch out for this. There could be a little band of freezing rain that sets up and kind of stays there for a little while. And so we get some icing accumulations. Could this shift further north and the freezing rain probability, start to move up more towards Richmond and more up, towards Roanoke and up in the western part of the state? It could. I mean, we don't know where this is going to set up. So just realize this is a first guess. But the main thing is that there could be a line here, where we get, some better snowfall to the north and potentially freezing rain just to the south of that. And this takes us again through Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. So the same time that you saw the snowfall. If I do take the freezing rain ahead in time, you'll notice that it kind of does start to decrease the probabilities, but they do come back on Thursday. So, it's going to be a messy week. We're going to have to see what happens on Monday and then all the way into Wednesday. And then we may have to watch what happens on Thursday too, because some of these freezing rain probabilities come back on Thursday. So just an overall messy week. And again, I think that line from Galax to maybe just south of Richmond, all the way, let's say, to Wallops, I think that's probably what we're going to have to watch out for next week to kind of see what happens. And just stay tuned. We will be updating this briefing for tomorrow. So this is just looking at the temperatures. I'm not going to go through all of this. This was put out in our briefing. The main thing, you do see those low temperatures dropping early next week. The high temperatures still looks like they could be in the 40s. So we'll see, how much that might impact snow accumulations. But for the most part, overnight lows are getting pretty cold. You do see the rainfall today. The better chances of rain here, which are really going to be early Saturday morning and a little bit into Sunday. Sunday is generally dry, and then the precipitation chances really starting to come back in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and they go on into Thursday as well. So you kind of see where we're getting some waves of precipitation coming through here for a while. So shifting gears into the marine side, if there's any good news, this is a little bit quieter which is kind of nice. We could see a little bit of small craft advisory conditions a little bit later on. We'll kind of go to here to kind of go day by day. The main thing is here on Saturday, you start to see a little bit of orange showing up here on the Chesapeake Bay, and that's what the front that's going to be coming through later Saturday evening. So some winds are going to pick up Saturday, especially on Sunday. You see orange everywhere, which represents small craft advisory conditions. So winds are going to start to pick up later on Saturday, and then Sunday is going to be kind of a breezy day for us. So we do expect small craft advisory conditions on Sunday, and those winds do start to decrease a little bit here as you get into Monday and Monday night. So no gale conditions expected. Just it's going to be breezy out there for a little while with those small craft advisory conditions expected late Saturday, and then really through all the day Sunday. So this is kind of looking at what some of the peak winds will be, and this is really capturing what's happening on Sunday, because this takes us through Sunday at 7 p.m. And so you can see some pretty good winds on Sunday, gusting up to about 26 knots on the Chesapeake Bay, and maybe even up to 30 knots here. I'm out on the water with that cold front. And remember, this is that strong north wind that's going to kick in, on Sunday. That's going to bring that cold air here that may allow us to see some of that snow as you get through the day on Monday. So this is that northerly surge of cooler air that's going to be causing these small craft advisory conditions on Sunday. And the waves will build, they'll kind of build back up to about 3 to 4 feet. The waves will come down for a little while, then they'll go back up later this weekend. And on the ocean, we'll kind of be holding between 3 to 5 feet on the ocean, really through the whole period. And so this is just kind of a breakdown of what's going to be happening wind-wise. We do have a southwest wind today, so the winds will actually kind of maybe pick up a little bit later on, but they are a southwest wind, which is not as rough. Kind of continuing to be more like west tomorrow. Maybe that weak front sneaks through up north, maybe get a little bit of a northwest wind gust into 20 knots there off Ocean City there at Fenwick Shoals. But then by Saturday, you kind of see the winds become northeast, generally around 15 knots, so not calm out there by any means, but it's going to be around 15 knots out of the northeast. But then that bigger cold front really punches through here on Sunday, and you can definitely see those northwest winds becoming north at around, I'd say, 20 to 30 knots, depending on where you are. So pretty good breeze here on Sunday, and then on Monday those winds decrease a little bit more of a northeast wind picking back up again for Tuesday. But again, the winds just stay northeast here for some time. Really, once you get into Sunday all the way through Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, the winds are just going to stay northeast at around 15 to 20 knots generally. So let's hope this is right. Looking at the outlook, 8 to 14 days from now. So we're talking, late next week into the following week, past all of these threats of snow and ice, getting way out there, at least maybe, I'd say above normal to maybe near normal temperatures expected. Let's hope we can get above normal, but it does look like it's going to continue to be unsettled. So we do see above normal chances for, it to be wet or above normal precipitation. And this is really looking at late next week and into the following week. So I'm trying to get way out there and just hoping things do get a little bit warmer. So again, that's all we have for today. Just a reminder that we will be updating this briefing by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and also doing a live briefing as well.